Good evening, welcome back to the garage. Got suspension tonight, rear suspension. It's pretty late. I've had a long day doing work stuff, so I don't know how much we'll get through. Maybe just the dampers and the radius arms, but after those we've got the Airframe to go on, which is somewhere, quite a large item, so I should be able to find that nice and easy. And then, so yeah, a push, I guess, we'll get the Airframe on, we'll see how we get on. So yeah, I'll get cracking. It looks fairly straightforward, what we need to do. Similar story to the front suspension, in that we've got some sleeves, just to fill the bushes out a little bit. And yeah, so see how we get on. I did, by the way, correct the order of washers yesterday when I fitted the brake hose to the chassis. I'd put both washers on one side, so this next page clarified that, so I've corrected that, went back and corrected that, so yeah, one to note. So here we have a front damper disconnected. Remember the second or third job I did, and I made a comment that the manual wasn't very clear and I wasn't sure which sleeves to use? Yeah, well, obviously I'd used the wrong ones. It's obvious now that I look at them, hindsight and all of that, but they're different bore sizes. The rear dampers use bigger bolts, front dampers use smaller bolts. So there we go, lesson for you. Now I'm going to swap those over. Got one damper on, nothing torqued up yet, but she's on. Again, mounted in single shear on the beam, and that's the mounting point that would have been blocked by the roll cage. Would have blocked the roll cage. The only thing I really had to do was wind up the spring seats to compress the spring a little bit, just to bring, so obviously I couldn't lower the beam any further because it's resting on the chassis as it is. So just to raise the spring up a little bit to get it to meet that bolt hole. So yeah, onto the side now. Right, radius arms are now on. Nothing really to talk about too much, just there's two possible mounting positions on the chassis. It appears the S-Pack cars goes in the higher one, R-Pack cars goes in the lower one. No idea, to be honest, ride height, I don't know. So on the car, see what it looks like. The higher hole just there. Other than having to get a bit rough and whack this bushing at the back with a mallet, no big deal really. So all of that's torqued up now, either side. I think it's Airframe now, so I think I might at least get the Airframe out, get it unwrapped and see what the crack is. Let's have a look at this Airframe then. Just one quick thing on the radius arms. I untorqued them and washed my paint pen off. I figure like the front wishbones should probably do that at ride height, which I could do now, I guess. I could jack up the axle itself, but fine, I'll do that later. And it probably makes sense to get it all on before I torque anything up anyway. So this looks fairly straightforward actually. One kind of pinch bolt in the middle to hold it to the rear axle, bush at either side to bolt to the chassis, and then again, as with the diff, looks like we'll be doing some shim spacing. Looks like just getting equidistant from the chassis rail to the flange where the hub mounts onto. I guess that's what we're aiming for, but that's all you get, you know. So I'll do that. I'll do this now, I think, and then we'll call it a night. Whew. That was possibly the most frustrating kind of session I've done on this car so far. Getting the Airframe on and everything on the on the rear suspension sorted, it just was a pain all the way through. Even trying to wind up the spring collars, the kind of ride height was such that the beam was resting on the chassis, so I had to get like ratchet straps to compress the springs to get that to work. Just nothing would line up right. Then I had to space the Airframe out with shims. No real constructive advice other than what a pain in the cock, big time. But it's done. I jacked the car up on the lower part of the airframe, which allowed me to relocate the axle stands to under the beam, which means effectively the car's kind of sat supporting its own weight on the suspension. So I've now torqued up the radius arms and the airframe and the dampers and kind of everything else. So I'm glad it's done, but whew, didn't enjoy that, I've got to be honest. Did not enjoy that. But we're done. There's no rear anti-roll bar on the Academy cars. I think you add that with the Road Sports, the next series up. Driveshafts. Do that tonight, I think, and then I'll call it a night before this bit starts. This bit looks fun. Just putting the kind of the uprights and the brakes and the calipers and just basically finishing the job. So I'll do that tomorrow. This is the lateral body tonight. Get some new parts out of the box. Always cheers me up a little bit. Okay, so they are handed. We've got the speed sensor ring on one, and I believe the left-hand one is a reverse thread to stop the hub nut coming from undone. So yeah, that's a correct thread, and that is, yeah, that's a left-handed thread. So yeah, got a little bit of dab of grease just to put on there to protect the output seals on the diff. Should just slide them in. Famous last words, but how hard can it be? Okay, I'm coming to you from the future. I'm an absolute moron. After the evening where I did the airframe and I got quite frustrated with how difficult everything was, I realised the following day that, I don't know, I guess I'd just got disorientated. And when I thought I was lowering the spring, lowering the length of the damper, I was doing the absolute opposite, and I was extending it to its maximum, its maximum reach. So it's my fault that it was so frustrating. I was basically putting everything to the extreme of its travel, which, yeah, just so stupid. But as far as mistakes go, it's kind of funny, I suppose, in hindsight. So what I will do is I will adjust all of the ride heights, the effective ride heights, obviously not to their final positions until I get the corner weight scales out and stuff, but I'll get them in the ballpark thanks to some measurements sent to me from another member of the community. But yeah, just thought I'd finish this video off by retrospectively calling myself a moron. Some people may have spotted it during the video, but, you know, have a laugh on me.